Next, I'd like to introduce Tony Sperling, President and Landfill Design Specialist at Sperling Hansen and Associates. Tony has been engineering landfills in British Columbia since 1990 and has completed more than 1,000 projects at over 150 landfills. Sperling is a director of the Solid Waste Association of North America and an adjunct professor of civil engineering at the University of British Columbia. Tony.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really amazed at the turnout with the miserable weather and everything we're having, and so it's great to see you here. I believe in Metro Vancouver we're at a crossroads in deciding how solid waste is going to be managed in the near future. And so I think it's important to give people the different options that are out there. And with my landfill background, I thought I'd give you a little bit of my perspective. The Metro Vancouver region generates about 3.5 million tons of solid waste per year. Of that waste, about 55% is currently recycled, which is great, leaving about 1.5 million tons of residual still to be managed, either by landfilling or through incineration. The looming closure of Cache Creek landfill has triggered a rush for alternate disposal capacity that Metro Vancouver seems to be telling us can only be achieved through waste-to-energy projects, and I tend to disagree there. Most everybody in the audience here today will agree that the 5 Rs hierarchy makes the most sense. First, we look to reduce, then we reuse, and then we recycle. Those are the 3 key Rs. And then we incinerate, and finally we landfill. Well, at least that did make sense in the old carbon economy. However, times are changing very fast. The burner guys will tell us that we must not waste the energy in garbage. After all, 1 ton of garbage is equal to 1 barrel of oil. What they don't tell us is that in recycling the ton of garbage, we can conserve 4 barrels of oil by avoiding processing of raw resources. Therefore, I believe that our solid waste management plan needs to put a lot more resources and financial capacity toward the first 3 Rs, reduce, reuse, and recycle. The proponents of waste energy are telling us that incineration produces a lot less GHGs than landfill. Well, maybe it does in Germany or Denmark, where the waste energy plants are providing district heat and year-round, and electricity is produced mostly by burning coal. But here in British Columbia, most of our energy is generated from hydro. And the infrastructure is not in place for district heating. Today's landfill gas control technology, on the other hand, can achieve 75 to 90% capture of the methane that's produced. Because landfills sequester plastics in addition, I believe that landfills with a state-of-the-art landfill gas control system actually have a lower GHG profile than the waste-to-energy plants. I've done some fairly detailed analysis that shows that. Now, let's take a step into the future, because what I talked about just now was today. In the future, we're planning to aggressively go after organic diversion, and the diverted material is going to change the waste stream. Upon removing the soggy lettuce and coffee grounds, the residuals will have more plastics and higher energy content. Burn that plastic and you release more greenhouse gases. Landfill that plastic and you sequester carbon. Without a doubt, once organics are effectively diverted, less methane will be produced from landfills and more anthropogenic carbon will be released by incineration. Ton for ton, net greenhouse gas emissions from landfilling will be lower than from waste to energy once organic diversion is implemented here in Metro Vancouver. Now let's look at the costs. In the next few years, Metro Vancouver is planning to spend over $700 million on 2 incinerators in the Lower Mainland. To pay for these facilities, the Finance Committee of Metro is projecting the tipping fee will likely need to be double to about $130 per ton. At worst, Metro will have to triple the fee to $200 per ton. Maybe the fee can drop in 20 years once the capital is paid down, but what happens if all of that plastic disappear from the waste stream through EPR programs? I believe it'll be a big white elephant. On the other hand, Vancouver Landfill manages about 700 to 750,000 tons per year at a cost that varies between $50 and $60 per ton, including transfer and haul. Therefore, for the next 20 years of continued landfilling of residuals, we could reduce our costs in half relative to waste energy, saving about $50 to $70 million per year. Now, air quality is another important issue, and I'm sure it's really important to you here in the Fraser Valley, where you sort of bear the brunt of the pollution drifting up the valley. A few years ago, we celebrated here as the public, municipal government, and the province succeeded in stopping the development of SE2, a facility that would have produced electricity from clean-burning natural gas in Sumas, Washington. According to a recent AECOM study for Metro Vancouver, the region is now planning to produce less electricity by burning plastics and wet garbage instead, releasing a lot more greenhouse gases, particulates, cadmium, mercury, and NOx into the airshed, and this makes no sense to me. Finally, let's do some basic math. By focusing on the organic diversion, Metro Vancouver is going to recycle 70% of solid waste by 2015. On 3.5 million tons of waste, that leaves only about 1.2 million tons that have to be managed as residuals. The combined permitted capacity of Vancouver landfill, the Burnaby incinerator and eco-waste landfill is about 1.26 million tons. Therefore, Metro's existing system, including the Vancouver landfill, Cache Creek to 2012, the Burnaby Waste Energy Facility, and eco-waste, which will close in 2018, will have sufficient permitted capacity to meet Metro's projected waste generation needs without any capital investments up to 2018, with an increase in the permitted annual capacity of Vancouver landfill thereafter to a maximum of 1.1 million tons per year, about a 30% increase from today. The system can meet Metro Vancouver solid waste requirements out to 2037 without investing over $1 billion in infrastructure. With Cache Creek's permitted to 2012 and eco-waste to 2018, there's sufficient short-term capacity for MSW as long as we achieve 70% diversion. That's the critical part. Provided the City of Vancouver, Delta, and Metro can work out a deal for a 30% increase in tonnage at Vancouver landfill, then the region will be set at least until 2025 without spending another dime. If we take full advantage of the 29 million tons of capacity that remain at Vancouver, we could serve the entire region up to 2037. I'd like to see a big chunk of the money saved directed towards EPR, recycling, and education as we actually start to reduce the amount of waste produced. With savings of $50 million per year, we should still have money left over. Maybe we can afford to keep the petting zoo and Macmillan Conservatory open and all pay for our fair share of the Evergreen Line to boot. I'd like to lastly note that the ideas presented here are not currently supported by the City of Vancouver or Metro Vancouver or Delta, but they're just ideas I'd like to throw out there for consideration. So thank you very much.